At my son's 13th birthday party, my uncle said, "Too bad you got your mom's looks and your dad's brains. Neither were great." Everyone laughed. My son excused himself. I found him in the bathroom crying. I took him home, canceled. The party I'd paid $8,000 for. Then I removed every single relative from the guest list of my wedding I was planning and from the $40,000 budget I'd set aside for family travel. And my uncle raised his plastic cup as the event host called everyone over for the cake. To the man of the hour, he said, and then he grinned at my son, "Too bad you got your mom's looks and your dad's brains. Neither were great." The cousins burst out laughing. Even my mother pressed her lips together like she was trying not to smile. The DJ laughed hard enough to echo. Leo stared at the floor. He was 13 that day. He stood there with a paper crown the venue gave him and his hands in the front pocket of his hoodie. He blinked fast. He always did that when he was trying not to cry. I felt something drop in my chest. My fingers shook on the plastic knife I was holding. The cake was on a cart, bright blue, with a soccer ball he had drawn on the order form. 13 candles, little silver sprinkles. I heard myself say, "Let's do candles," but my voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. Leo mumbled, "Excuse me," and walked off. Nobody stopped him. Someone shouted, "Bathrooms down the hall, buddy." More laughter. I put the knife down on a stack of napkins and followed. The music kicked back up behind me like a door shutting. I found him in the family restroom with the lock, half caught, forehead pressed to the back of his wrist. His shoulders were shaking. He wiped his eyes when he saw me. "It's fine," he said. "Can we just go home?" I swallowed. My throat hurt. Not here, I told myself. Don't explode in front of him. Don't give them a story to laugh about next Christmas. I nodded. "Grab your jacket," I said. "I'll tell Ethan." I walked back through the hall. The balloons I ordered bobbed against the ceiling. The pizza I paid for was already on plates. My uncle had a slice in one hand and a mic in the other, still telling a story about his high school days. My mother looked at me and lifted her eyebrows like I was being dramatic on purpose. I felt the old pull. Be easy. Make it smooth. I leaned close to Ethan. "We're leaving," I said. "Take Leo to the car. I'll get the cake boxed." He didn't ask. He just nodded, put his hand on my back for a second, and went to find our boy. I told the manager we had to cut it short. "Box the cake, please," I said. "We'll take it with us." I didn't yell. I signed the charge slip with a firm hand. My name looked different, like I was writing for the first time. On the way out, I heard my brother say, "He's sensitive," and my mother sigh, "Oh, Camellia," like I was the problem. I kept walking. The balloons bobbed above me as we passed under them into the cold night air. I'm 39. I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. I manage supply chain for a hospital network. It's not glamorous, but it's steady, and I'm good at it. Spreadsheets and vendors and getting masks and IV tubing where they need to go. I'm engaged to Ethan, who is 41 and a paramedic. I have one child, Leo. His dad left when Leo was 2. It's been the two of us for a long time. My family never understood what I did for work, but they understood my direct deposit. When I bought my little townhouse, my mother called it the rich girl house, even though it's a 2-bed with squeaky stairs and a view of a parking lot. They figured I was the steady one, the one who could be counted on. That turned into the one who pays. I didn't mind at first. There's a power in being able to help. I covered a past due electric bill for my mother and dad one winter for $12. I sent my brother $1,800 to fix his truck when he got a new job. I put $2,300 on my credit card to clear my mom's visa because the interest was killing her. I paid $4,980 for a new furnace at my parents' house when theirs died in January because Minnesota. I was helping. That's what I told myself. I set up a weekly transfer to my mom's account 2 years ago when my dad's hours got cut. $250 every Friday labeled groceries. It added up to $13,000 over a year. She'd text me little pictures of whatever she cooked. "Your money bought this pot roast," she'd say. I'd send a heart emoji. I treated all the cousins to Cousins Day at the water park. Twice, $1,296. The first time, $1,462. The second, with the matching shirts that said, Johnson Crew 2023. I bought 12 season passes to the zoo because my sister said it was too expensive to take the kids otherwise. I paid for the family photos last fall, $650 for the session, and then tried not to gasp when the photographer did one with just the real Johnsons and asked Leo to step out. It was framed over my parents' fireplace by Thanksgiving. Little things piled up like snow. At Christmas, my parents gave my brother's kids a Nintendo Switch and 2 games. They gave Leo a sweater 2 sizes too big, with the tag still on it, from an outlet store in August. We didn't know what he liked. My mother said even though Leo had been talking nonstop about a model rocket for 3 weeks, I bought it myself the next day and watched his face light up in the garage when it launched. They forgot his name on the cousin's birthday board pinned up in my mother's kitchen. They spelled it Leo on a cake one year and said it was just icing. They took the cousins to a Twins game and posted a photo with the hashtag #AllTheGrands, with Leo cropped out in the corner. When I said something, my sister rolled her eyes and said I had a persecution complex every time I swallowed it. Pick your battles, I'd think. I told myself Leo didn't see the patterns, but he did. Kids always do. I planned the 13th birthday because 13 felt big. The party package at this event center, with bowling laser tag and an arcade room, cost me $8,000 with catering. And the DJ, because I said yes to everything. That was on me. I put down the deposit months ago and watched the spreadsheets like I watched my hospital ones. Vendors' timelines, tip envelopes. My uncle joked, "It's just kids and pizza." When I told him the location, I shrugged. "We don't have to do it there," I said. Then he said, "No, if you're paying, who cares?" The bigger thing, I never said out loud, I had a separate savings account called Family Trips. I set it up when I started to feel like maybe if we made memories, the rest would soften. There was $40, sitting in there earmarked for a group cruise next summer, and for flights when my parents said they wanted to see the Grand Canyon before our knees give out. I had a spreadsheet tab with everyone's names and sizes for matching shirts. I kept filling that account with $500 every other Friday. No one asked me to. I just did it. The flip side to being the helper was the constant ask. My brother wanted me to co-sign a refinance for his bar last spring. He wanted a $100 line. I told him no. I said I won't tie my son's future to your bar. He called me cold. My mother said I was punishing them for asking. After that, the little slights got meaner. Leo and I stopped being invited to random Sunday dinners. Then I'd get a text at 9:00 p.m. the night of oops, forgot to tell you. They kept me in the loop when money was needed. They kept Leo out of the loop when love was needed. That's the pattern I refused to look at because it made my stomach turn. I traded funding for affection, and Leo was the price of my illusion. Back at home after the party, Leo sat at my kitchen table in his hoodie with his plate of boxed cake. He didn't touch it. Ethan made tea and put a mug next to him. "You okay?" Ethan asked. Leo nodded without looking up. He was still 13 and trying to be tough. He cleared his throat. "Can we just go home?" "Yeah," I said. "We can do whatever you want." I put my phone face down. It was already buzzing with text little fireworks across the screen. I didn't look. I should have known. I ignored every sign. I thought they'd change because I kept paying. I reached for my laptop instead of my phone. My hands were steady now. I opened my bank app. The Family Trips account sat there like a swollen balloon. Balance $40, 233.17. Next to it was the green transfer button I'd hit 100 times the other direction. I logged into the Minnesota 529 college savings plan page I set up for Leo when he was a baby and had neglected for years. Balance $3,200. Automatic contribution, $50 a month. Embarrassing. I clicked contribute. I typed $40,000. The form asked funding source. I selected U.S. Bank, Savings Family Trips. It asked me if I was sure. There was a pale gray box. This transfer may take 2 to 3 business days. My reflection looked back at me in the black edges of the screen. For a second, I felt all the old fear. What if they get mad? What if I ruin Christmas? What if I turn into the villain in my mother's stories? I could hear Leo breathing over the steam of his tea. He took a sip and winced. He reached for the cake and used his fork to scrape off the blue icing soccer ball he had drawn on the order form and set it to the side like he didn't want to ruin it. I clicked submit. The confirmation screen popped up. Contribution scheduled, $40,000 from U.S. Bank, Savings Family, Trips to MN 529 beneficiary, Leo M. Date Monday, 10:31 p.m. I took a screenshot. I closed the Family Trips account in the app. It asked me a reason. I chose other and typed not funding extended family travel. That was my one decision. I didn't draft a speech. I didn't make a plan to teach anyone a lesson. I moved my money to my kid. Full stop. I opened another tab and sent one email to the travel agent we'd been working with for the cruise. Please cancel our group hold. I understand we will lose the deposit. There went $650. She replied 3 minutes later with a scripted condolence and a cancellation number. I added it to my spreadsheet, then closed the spreadsheet and tucked it into a folder named before. I did not text the family group chat an announcement. I did not call my mother to pre-explain. I set the phone on Do Not Disturb and put it in a drawer. Ethan watched me and nodded. Good, he said. How about we have our own party? We cut the cake without the show, without the DJ. Leo finally smiled when Ethan stuck a single candle in a slice and told him to blow it out 3 times for luck, like some weird paramedic superstition. It's not a thing Ethan admitted, but it can be if you want. That night, after Leo fell asleep on the couch with a blanket over his head and a YouTube video mumbling about rockets, I sat at the dining table and pulled out a manila folder. I put the screenshot from the 529 into it. I wrote Leo Education in block letters with a black Sharpie. The smell of the marker stung my nose. I thought about my uncle's joke like a stain I couldn't scrub. I thought about my son in a bright, crowded room asking me calmly to go home. My hands didn't shake anymore. When I finally checked my phone, there were 22 missed calls and 48 texts. What happened from my mother? Did Leo faint from my aunt? Where are you from my sister? That joke was funny from my brother. You need to loosen up from my uncle. There was one from my cousin Allie. That was gross. I'm sorry. Are you okay? I typed one message back to the group. Leo is home. We're done for tonight. That was it. I set the phone back down. I looked at Ethan. He brought me a glass of water and rested his hand on my shoulder for a minute. We sat like that listening to the fridge hum. The next morning my mother showed up at my door without texting. She wears perfume that could knock you out at 6 feet. I opened the door and the smell came in first. She looked past me like she was already looking for someone to blame. What was that last night, she demanded, stepping into my living room like it was hers. You embarrassed everybody. I pointed at the couch where Leo was still asleep with the blanket over his head. Lower your voice, I said. My voice was calm. I surprised myself. She lowered it by half a decibel. Rick was joking. You know how he is. He was joking about a child, I said. My child, at his party. She huffed. You've always been sensitive, you know that. I repeated the sentence in my head. I had decided the only one I was going to say. I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of. She blinked. What? I repeated it slower. I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of. That includes trips. That includes big parties. That includes the little weekly transfers. I'm done. I didn't add a because or a list. I didn't bring up the sweater or the photos. In a different mood, I would have. I didn't that morning. Her mouth fell open. So you're punishing us? We were counting on that cruise. The kids already told their friends. Do you know how cruel that is? I canceled the hold last night, I said. I moved the travel money to Leo's 529. This isn't punishment. It's a boundary. She stared at me like I was speaking a different language. This is Ethan, isn't it? He's controlling you. Ethan was in the kitchen making eggs. He didn't say anything. He flipped the eggs and put a piece of toast on a plate. He knows how to make himself smaller when needed. He did that now. I shook my head. This is my decision. She tried again. You always make everything about you. You took away their fun because your kid can't take a joke. You have to toughen him up, Camellia. I thought about 13-year-old me facing my mother's sister making jokes about my teeth at a picnic. Me smiling too hard. My mom didn't pull me away. She didn't take me home. I had learned my lesson then. I kept it. I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of, I said. I felt like I was laying a brick one clean, heavy sound. I could build a wall with that if I wanted, or a foundation. She left in a dramatic storm of perfume and muttering. The text rolled in behind her. My brother, you're a joke. That one speech cost my kids their summer. My sister, you could have just asked Rick to apologize. My uncle, tell the boy to man up. I typed my same sentence to each of them when I replied at all. Copy, paste, I won't fund a family my kid isn't part of. My cousin Allie called me on her lunch break. I feel sick, she said. I laughed last night because everyone did and I wanted to crawl into my own mouth. I'm sorry. We pulled our kids aside after you left and told them that was wrong. Can we come by tonight? We have a card for Leo. Yes, I said before I could talk myself out of it. We'd like that. That afternoon, I opened my wedding planning spreadsheet. I had a tab for family. It had names like a census. I stared at it. I highlighted every aunt and uncle and cousin and moved them to a tab called Not Coming. That wasn't a money move. That was me refusing to put my kid in a suit in front of the same people who laughed at him. I emailed our planner and told her to adjust the count. The deposit was already paid. I didn't ask for refunds, I just made space. Ethan came up behind me and kissed the top of my head. He said, "We will fill those seats or we won't. Either way." There were a dozen doorbell rings the next 2 days. My father came and patted Leo's shoulder and said, "You know your uncle didn't mean it." I said my sentence. My aunt dropped off a pie and a lecture about forgiveness. I said my sentence. My sister sent a long message about how I had humiliated the family by walking out. I didn't respond. It wasn't clean. It wasn't peaceful. I cried in the shower and had to put my hand on the tile to steady myself. I told myself over and over that loving your child is sometimes a financial decision, not a Hallmark card, not a speech. A button you click, a transfer you confirm, a door you close gently and don't open for a while. We had a second birthday 2 nights later. It wasn't part 2. It was new. Our neighbor from next door brought over a stack of paper plates and her 2 boys who worship Leo and his Nerf collection. Allie came with her kids and a handmade card that said, 13 looks good on you, in crooked letters. Ethan grilled hot dogs even though it was February and he had to wear his coat on the porch. We stuck 13 candles in the leftover cake from the venue and relit them. Leo grinned when the wax dripped onto the soccer ball and made it look like it was melting into the blue. He laughed when Ethan forgot to take the candles out before slicing. "Extra vitamins," Ethan said. "Wax does the body good." It was dumb and it worked. I set 2 extra chairs at the table and left them empty without making a speech. One had a folded dish towel on it. The other had the cake box lid with the little plastic soccer ball taped to it. I didn't post a photo. I didn't ask my mother to explain herself or my uncle to apologize. The air in my kitchen felt still and warm. After everyone left, Leo handed me a drawing. It was of a rocket, obviously, but he had drawn a tiny figure strapped to it, holding on. "You," he wrote in pencil on the figure's shirt. He had drawn clouds under it, but no crowd on the ground, just the rocket going up. "Can I put this on the fridge?" I asked him. "No," he said. "Put it in the folder with the money screenshot." His ears went pink when he said it. He shrugged like it was no big deal. I want it there. I slid the drawing into the Leo education folder behind the printed confirmation from the 529 transfer. I closed the manila flap and held it for a second under my hands. This is what I could hold. Paper, ink, a decision. I still have the spreadsheets. I still know exactly how many chairs are at my wedding. I still get a fresh wave of shaky anger some mornings when I remember the laugh after that joke. But then I hear the sound of 13 candles blowing out in my own kitchen. I see Leo's shoulders drop when he sits at our table, and it's just us and the people who chose us. I didn't torch anything. I didn't scorch the earth. I moved money. I said no. I left 2 chairs empty and let them speak. I will spend the next years filling other chairs for Leo with people who clap for him, not at him. I can afford that. And I don't mean with dollars. This story reveals an important truth. Genuine love for a child is measured not by words, but by concrete actions. For years, Camelia funded her family hoping to buy acceptance for her son. But she learned a simple fact. Money cannot buy respect. When adults publicly humiliate a 13-year-old boy at his own birthday party, it's not a joke, it's cruelty. And Camelia's maternal response isn't revenge, it's establishing healthy boundaries. Transferring $40,000 from the Family Trips Fund to Leo's education account isn't punishing relatives. It's an investment in the future of a child who deserves to be surrounded by people who value him. Real family isn't necessarily blood ties. It's people who celebrate you genuinely, not those who forget your name in group photos. Sometimes the best thing we can do for our children is protect them from toxic environments, even when it's our own relatives. A parent's most important job isn't keeping everyone comfortable. It's ensuring their child knows they're worthy of respect.